Hi, I'm Arpit. I'm the co-founder and CTO of Appsmith. Today we're going to talk about how Appsmith enables security-conscious organizations to build web applications. So let's get into it. First, we'll see how Appsmith works. So we've made Appsmith really simple to self-host within your own VPC, private cloud, or private network by shipping a single Docker container. You simply execute the command docker run Appsmith and you'll have Appsmith running in no time. Here we can see the architecture of Appsmith and what it looks like inside your environment. There's a single backend server coupled with MongoDB and Redis that is responsible for all of Appsmith's functionality. The backend server then communicates with your database, your private API, within your private network connection, and can also communicate with external SaaS products like Slack, Zendesk, Twilio over the internet. Lastly, Appsmith can version control your apps using Git with any GitHub provider, any Git provider you choose. To begin with, I'd like to highlight that all communication with Appsmith and the external internet happens over HTTPS, and this is really easy to set up in your own environment through a single command. We even take away all of the pain of renewing your certificate at regular intervals, so you never have to face the awkward situation of having your SSL certificate expire. By design, all the sensitive credentials to your database server, any private authenticated APIs, or your Git provider are stored in an encrypted fashion with AES 256 in MongoDB. Once you save a password, it can only be used but not read by any user again. In addition to this, these credentials are never shared with the client's browser. This means that your end users or business users using your application will never be aware of which database they are accessing and what credentials are being used to do so. This ensures there is no information leakage here. We know that to build any application of reasonable complexity, we require code. And this JS code is executed in Appsmith on the browser in a sandbox environment. A design like this ensures that any intentional or unintentional bad code doesn't have access to the DOM or network APIs like fetch. This makes code writing in Appsmith secure by default. Self-hosting inside your own premises unlocks multiple benefits of performance, stability, and security. To begin with, self-hosting gives you the option to remain independent. With Appsmith, there is no vendor lock-in, and you aren't dependent on us to keep your apps running. Also, since Appsmith is co-located with your microservices, your databases, all API calls are lightning quick. This improved performance leads to greater stability. Since all data exchange is happening within your private network, Appsmith is a great solution to prevent unauthorized access to your data. And this is especially important for teams operating in highly regulated industries like banking or healthcare. Speaking of compliance, Appsmith Cloud is SOC 2 Type 2 compliant. And since Appsmith Cloud runs the exact same code as your self-hosted enterprise versions, users can be assured that their self-hosted Docker containers are built and maintained securely. So how did we achieve SOC 2 compliance? The first is Appsmith regularly engages with third-party security agencies and performs regular penetration testing to test the Docker containers, our AWS cloud configurations, and everything around how we build and deploy software. Any PII data is stored in an encrypted fashion because at Appsmith we take privacy and confidentiality very seriously. On request, we also have strict controls to dispose this PII data on any customer request. The entire Appsmith team follows the principle of least privilege, which means that each person on the team is given minimum access in order to accomplish their task. No more, no less. And lastly, any enterprise which is engaging with us has access to our SOC 2 report, our SOC 2 compliance, and in case as a customer, as a company, you are trying to achieve SOC 2 compliance, Appsmith sits very well in your entire stack. And the ultimate in security is the Appsmith Air Gap Edition. There is absolutely no communication with the external cloud, and it's perfect for users that require a very high degree of security and compliance. A lot of banking or healthcare providers actually opt for this sort of a setup. In this, as you can see, all of the Appsmith containers and communication is happening within the private cloud itself, and there is absolutely no communication to any external endpoint or third-party SaaS provider. By default, Appsmith also disables access to third-party SaaS providers like Slack or Zendesk in order to ensure that the integrity of the air gap environment remains. The only communication that happens with the browser is over HTTPS, and network administrators can ensure this communication happens seamlessly by opening certain ports to the actual browser so that end users or business users can access these business applications built on top of Appsmith. Here we took a quick tour of all of the security principles followed by Appsmith and how we enable users to build secure by default apps on the platform. Thank you.